Hey everyone, this is Finn, and in this tutorial, we just finished our idle animation, and now we are going to move on to our running animation. We are going to use this first frame so that we can keep our character consistent. So with the idle.fla file up, select the first frame of the drawing layer, and then I want you to press Ctrl C. Now we are going to go to File, New, and create a new standard document. Press Create. We are going to right click onto our stage and press Paste in Place so that our character is in the same exact place as he was before instead of being pasted to the center. Now I'm going to save this file as Run. Let's also rename Layer 1 as Drawing Layer. This diagram demonstrates the first 7 frames of a run cycle. You have the initial point of contact with your starting foot. With this character, we start with our right foot. Our left foot is angled backwards. You've just made contact with your right foot, and your right arm is angled back, your left arm is angled forward. Then we start to see you tuck down, your knees are bent, your right foot is flat, and then the foot that is not making contact is tucked a little bit more inward. The foot is a little bit more pointing outward. And the arms, you see, are slightly starting to straighten out and move towards your center. Also take note that your height is the lowest that it's going to be. Notice this curve that is drawn here. That is the natural motion of your height when you're running. So we're going to strive for that curve. Third frame, you see that your foot is now parallel to your hips. Your arms are more straightened out and towards the center of your body. And your left foot and leg, starting with your knee, are just starting to pass your right leg. Then frame 4 is where we are starting to pass. Our right leg is being passed by the left leg. We still have contact with our right leg, but the left leg is now in front of us. Our arms have also passed the center of the body as well, so our right arm is no longer angled behind us. It is mostly towards the center now, and then as we move forward, it's going to move more forward and take the position of the left arm at the beginning here. So now takes us to frame 5, and this is the highest position. We are on our very tippy toes here with our right foot and about to propel ourselves. We're in the process of propelling ourselves but have not lifted off yet into the air to make that big stride, that leap while we're running. The left leg is preparing to start moving forward and landing to make contact. Frame 6, you are in the air. This is the only frame that you are in the air. Your legs are bent down, a little more angled, and your arms are getting into that more angled position on their new sides. And then frame 7, you can see we made contact again, this time with our left foot. Our left arm is the one that's angled backward. Our right arm is the one angled forward. Our right leg is the one that's angled back. Here you can see I have my run cycle picture that I got from the internet in my library. I have expanded this window large enough so that we can see it while we work. The first thing we want to do is I am going to create a new layer, and I'm going to name it idle reference, and that's where we're going to actually move this keyframe on the drawing layer. I'm going to click and drag it to the layer under it, and now that this drawing right here is on the idle reference layer, and the new drawing layer is going to be where we draw our running frames. I am going to lock this layer, right click, choose properties, and then change my opacity to 50%. Now, starting at the drawing layer, I'm going to try to draw this first frame, and I'm going to do it using my drawing tablet. I'm going to use my brush tool. Alright. I am actually going to make a couple more adjustments using this lasso tool. If you don't have your lasso tool available, right click on the polygon tool and you will get this menu and click on lasso tool. I'm going to use my free transform tool. I'm going to put my pivot point at the waist and then I'm going to rotate it forward. Actually, I think the right move was to rotate it all forward as well. So I am going to rotate that a little bit, but I'm going to box select the entire thing, get him to ground level, put the origin point at his foot, and then rotate him a little bit. I'm going to hide my idle reference layer. See if I like it. I think that I'm going to draw over this part a little bit to make it a little more clear that the leg is there. Alright, let's go ahead and right click the frame, the next frame, and select Insert Blank Keyframe. Then turn your onion skin select on so that we can see the previous frame. Now I'm just going to draw, looking at this second frame here. I see that we want the knee bending. I'm actually going to start at that bent knee. I'm going to trace the original leg, and then I'm going to take it and flip it like this. And put it right here. There we go. Now that we know where the leg is, we can add this knee joint. We can draw this top half of the body, which I see is pretty much the same other than the arms changing. So now the arms are starting to straighten out a little bit and come forward. So now I am going to actually pull this leg forward. There we go. And now I'm going to finish the leg. That little joint right here. And now that back leg is still going to be bent. But the back of the foot is going to be a little more pointed outward as opposed to down. Now I'm going to draw the head. So now let's check those two frames. I'm going to deselect onion skin. That looks pretty good to me so far. I think I'm going to actually pull the arm in a little bit more. I'm going to use my lasso to select this part of the arm. I'm going to select free transform, move my origin over here, and then rotate that Let's see what that looks like now. I think in the first frame, I'm going to also bend the arm differently. I'm going to select it, select free transform, move the origin point. I'm going to bend it forward, and I'm actually going to bend the hand forward too. Alright, let's see what that looks like. I like it. Alright, let's continue. We're going to insert another blank keyframe, use our onion skin, and only select, on your onion skinning range, only select the frame behind you. I want to make sure that my head is dropping down. It actually didn't, so that means we have a problem. I think the calf is too long. I'm going to select all of the body up above the leg, select free transform. After you have this portion selected, just drag it down. Now let's see. Now we're actually going down. That makes a lot more sense. Alright. Now, starting with the next frame, I am going to select the classic brush tool, and I'm going to continue drawing. This time, our foot needs to be parallel to our hips. So I'm going to make sure that we actually move far enough in that last frame. I don't think we did. So I am going to tilt the leg forward. These kind of adjustments are all part of making sure that you created the right motion, and it's better to do the adjustments while you're animating as opposed to after you have finished doing any hefty work. I'm going to tilt this foot forward so that it's flat. I think I'm going to select this leg and rotate it forward. Scale it just a tiny bit. Alright, now let's see. Cool. Now we have enough room to be able to move this leg parallel to our hips, and it's not going to be too crazy of a snap or anything. It's going to be pretty smooth. I'm going to start at the hips and go up. Then I'm going to draw the head. And now, as you can see, the arm is a lot more straightened out, and it is nearly in the center, aligned with the center of the person's torso. The other one is still is the same way. It's headed towards the center, but it is still hanging towards the front. So I'm going to draw that. Now we're going to move up a little bit. Before I do that, I am going to adjust the legs just so I know how much further up I want to move. It's going to be bent still. This looks about right. Alright, now I'm going to scooch them up back to walking level. Let's see how we did. I'm going to deselect the onion skin tool. Real quick, I'm going to make sure that I adjust the last 2 frames to be... right here, this is my edit multiple frames by a selected range tool. You click it, and then these 2 white bars represent the range of how many of the frames you're editing. We just want to edit these 2 frames to and so make sure that those 2 are there, and make sure that, what I mean is make sure that the range above it is covering just these two frames. Then use box select to select both of them, and we are going to turn on onion skinning at the same time and make it so that we are just looking at the frame behind us. Looks like we can't turn those on at the same time, but we're just going to get a look how much further we need to go. Not that much, so I am going to turn edit multiple frames back on, make sure I have just the last two frames selected, box select the whole thing, and we'll move it down a little bit. Now make sure you press edit multiple frames again to deselect it. There we go, that's much better. I'm going to press the lock button so we can look at it without the selection marks. There we go, alright. Now let's move on to 4. Taking a look at my animation, I do notice that the second frame, this leg here, is a little too long, the thigh, or the upper leg, so I am going to move that in as well. Use my box select. Oh, my layer is locked. Make sure I unlock it, then use my box select and move up. Now let's focus on the leg. That's much better. Definitely keep proportions in mind when you're looking through these, because if you keep at realistic proportions, it is going to remind you when you see something that is not consistent with the other drawings you've done. If you're constantly looking to make sure that each individual drawing has the correct proportions, then they will be consistent with each other. I'm going to move this arm in a little bit too. There we go. Much better. Now we can move on to the passing position, frame 4, where our legs will actually pass each other and our arms will also cross as well. Now let's go to frame 4, right click, insert blank keyframe and turn on your onion skin. Finally, our foot is flat on the ground, horizontal or parallel to our hips. Now our leg is going to be behind us, and we are not going to be a full flat foot anymore. We are going to be on our toes. And this left leg is going to be in front of us instead of behind us, like it has been. I'm going to use my classic brush tool. Make sure that we start with our hips and go up again, just so that we can mess with the height however we want. This arm is going to be behind the person, and we're not going to draw it because that's going to get in the way of seeing our legs. So just know that the arm is around here. Maybe I will draw it just to... Nope, I'm not going to draw that. I am going to keep the arm right here. Alright. Now I'm going to adjust the height after I create the legs. Gonna create a little ball joint there. So we are bent still, we're bent back. There we go. Except for I need to remember that we are going to be taller. Let me move the top half of our character up. Alright, that looks better. Now our left leg is finally sticking forward. There we go. If you point the foot down more, it looks more like you are lifting off, like your foot is propelling up. You are pushing up into the air as opposed to you are setting your foot down. Let's see what this looks like. I'm going to deselect onion skinning. There we go. Okay, it looks good for me. Let's move on. I click Insert Blank Keyframe, turn on my onion skinning tool, and now we are up much further. I'll start with the hips. Let's see, what are our arms doing? This arm is bent forward like this. And the other one now let's lift up by box selecting and dragging our character up. And now this foot is going to be even more extended. It's actually very extended. This end needs to be longer. Not that long. And we do need to move them back down when we are done because the foot is off. Alright. Let's see how this looks. Oh. First, I'm actually going to drag our character down. There we go. Now let's see. Very good. I think this needs to be extended out a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to change my mind on that. I think it was better before. I think it's the other one that is too long. Select that and bring it in. Alright, and now I'm going to select my whole character and bring us down. Let's make sure we're at good level. Looks like it to me. It would help if we were actually on the bottom of the stage. So I'm going to select the Edit Multiple Frames option. Change the range so that we can see all of the frames. It looks really crazy, like we're a spider. And then use Box Select to select all of them. And make sure they are on the ground. Now all you have to do is make sure that they are all on the ground as well. So this one down. I'm going to use the lock option right here, the lock symbol, to make it so that we don't have to deselect anything. It looks like we don't go high enough. I think that we are too short, and I think it's our spine. So that's okay, sometimes that happens. I am going to unlock that layer, and I'm going to select some of this stuff. I'm just going to bring it up. And then I'm going to use my brush tool to kind of fill in the gaps. And then my eraser to kind of fix anything left behind. Alright, now let's see. I'm going to lock it again. Okay, awesome. Let's go to our next frame. Right click and insert blank keyframe. Select onion skinning, unlock the layer so that you can see. And now we are going to make sure that we are the same height, but our legs are going to scrunch up some more. I'm going to make the shoulders this time first and actually make it shorter. And what that is our character turning slightly, and so you're not going to see all of that. There we go. And then this front arm. Now let's do his head. Let's see what that looks like. Deselect onion skin. I'm going to lock the layer. I like it. I think the bottom of him might need to be a little longer. Actually, no, you know what? I think it is this leg right here, this calf. I'm going to unlock the layer, select it, and move it up a little bit. There we go. Awesome. We are making really good progress. I know it can look confusing without the actual torso, like barrel part of the chest. Just remember that the shoulders are meant to, these balls are up here are meant to represent the shoulders, and it's going to look different when you actually draw a chest up there. This is just because your skeleton, we're making a skeletal animation, and to be able to see all the different parts of the body and what they're doing at any frame, we want to make it as simplified as possible. Something like this picture is also pretty simple, but this way you'll be able to draw on top of it and not have to worry as much about whether or not you want the figure to be exactly like this. You can focus on the joints and like the proportions. Now we're on this 7th frame, where our left leg comes into contact with the ground and our right leg is bent back behind us completely. Let's select that next frame, right click and insert blank keyframe. Turn on your onion select tool, onion skin select tool, unlock your layer, and select your classic. I'm going to deselect onion skin and let's see what that looks like. We definitely want to make sure that our person is on ground level. Now I'm going to lock my layer. Let's see. I think he needs to be taller than that, so I am going to... I need to unlock my layer. I'm going to box select him, move him up. We want to move our guy back a little bit because you can see here that the starting point of his foot making contact is right there. It's a little too far on this end, so I'm going to draw a little more toe first of all. Then I'm going to move it back. I'm going to use onion skinning and see. There we go, right there. Now let's look again. Okay, that's not too good. So I am going to move it forward. There we go. That looks about right. I think he's still a little bit too far. There we go. Much better. Now I'm going to clean up our progress so far with the line tool. I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to double click it and name it Clean Up Layer. And let's start with that first frame. Let's right click on drawing layer and make our visibility opacity 50%. And now I'm just gonna let you watch me do the same process as before. There's not going to be any commentary. I'm just going to speed along and make all of the rest of these guidelines like this image, like we did for the idle animation. Now we have the first half of our skeletal animation done. We start by making contact with the right foot, and then by the end we are making contact with our left foot. Now we just need to make it so that we go back, starting with contact from the left foot and ending with contact of the right foot again, so that we can seamlessly loop our animation back to the beginning. I'm going to do it and not give any commentary so that you guys don't have to watch another long video of me doing something that you've already seen, but please feel free to watch and see how I do the rest of this. Just keep in mind that it is the exact same process, just using the other leg. Now we want to export our frames. Click File, then click Export, Export Movie. Then you're going to want to make sure that you name your PNG sequence, and you also want to make sure that you're saving as a PNG sequence. Open up this drop-down menu and make sure that you have PNG sequence selected. Then press Save, Export. And now all of our images will appear in that folder that we exported to, and I can scroll through them. Now you know how to do a running cycle animation. Thank you and have a great day.